In my eyes, indisposed, in disguises no one knows, hides the face, lies the snake, and the sun in my disgrace. Boiling heat, summer stench, neath the black the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? In other words, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fluffenhammer.
Every man lives, not every man truly dies.
Hello, my little chickadees. It's Gruffy here. It's Adam. Welcome to the Fluffenhammer. This is a strange episode. So, what we're doing here is we are currently reworking the Fluffenhammer, basically just to try and give me some time to build up a backlog. The idea is that then there is episodes coming out every 2 weeks again, rather than what we've been having, which is an episode here, an episode there, and all these type of things. So I'm currently working on getting that backlog in so we can get 2 episodes out. So you get an episode out every 2 weeks. This episode is the first 2 episodes of the Fluffin' Minis, which is the Patreon show. Where me and a guest sit down and go through an old article of White Dwarf and any other conversation that springs to mind. Usually about between 35 to 45 minutes long, give or take, and mini episode. Even my mini episodes go long. Unbelievable. That's what we've got here. That's what we've got for you to listen to. I hope you enjoy it. I hope that you decide to come and join us at patreon.com/the Fluffenhammer. It's there. The minisodes are there. There's the Friday night short form theatre. You get all the articles early. Anything that I try to throw together, I put up there first. People have been very instrumental in the skirmish game that's coming out and in shaping that. The Patreon's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Yeah, and if you do the $10 one, you get mugs and t-shirts and all that type of thing. And stickers, Lots of stuff. Lots and lots of stuff. But we've always got a $1 and a $3. Yeah, you don't have to go full-blown $10 a month. You can do $1 or $2. That's what it's there for. Times are difficult for everyone. If you can't, you can't. Don't ever feel bad about not being able to. If you can't, why don't you just give us an iTunes review or, similar reviews on Google Podcasts or whatever it's called now. I'm just going to go on. I don't do this very often. I don't do this entire advertising myself. It feels very uncomfortable for me to do. It's one of those things. I have to. I know I have to, but I always shy away from it. So there we go. That's the uncomfortable bit out of the way. So we're going to now jump back in time and listen to episodes 1 and 2. Well, actually, it's episodes 2 and 3, because if I just put episode 1 on here, that would be a real weird experience for all of you, because that's explaining what the show is, which isn't really good listening as part of this show. So, complicated, yes, I know, I'm aware. So, all that being said, I will let you go and travel back through time to past me and past David. Bye-bye now. Fuck you, Internet, for taking away Citadel Journal. That's called continuity.
We do it sometimes, honest.
Welcome to the show that is possibly named formerly Saving for Skaven. Possibly get a different name as I think about it, as I gaze slowly and surely into the abyss as the abyss gives me a sultry wink and I say, "No, Abyss! Stop that! You made a stare. Don't give me a sultry wink. I'll tell you, Mum."
He was a good wrestler. Arguably a better producer now.
Very true, yeah, and I really want to see somebody get the wrestler Abyss to give a sultry wink.
I mean, if you asked him, I'm sure he'd do it because he sounds like from all I've seen, he's game for anything. He's a wonderful chap.
Absolutely, actually, yeah.
For a man who has spent a lot of his career landed with nails and pins and whatnot. He comes across as a lovely individual.
Mick Foley.
This is also true, yeah. Mick Foley, who is the iconic deathmatch king and has at least two of the most what the fuck moments in wrestling history where you think he should be dead.
Mm-hmm.
And bear in mind, these are moments that came after he had his ear twisted off.
Yes.
Is actually one of the nicest people you will ever meet.
Yeah, his books are glorious, and his children's book is lovely.
Mm.
So, so the more intimidating a wrestler is in the ring, the nicer he is outside the ring.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. Dave Bautista.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, one of my favorite things about Dave Bautista was when it cut to him. And he was getting ready for his match, and he was doing that little skipping arm wave thing he did. And somebody had snuck backstage and just like ran past him, went blah in the camera, and then kept running. And then security chased him, and Batista just like couldn't keep in character and just starts like laughing as he's trying to do his warm up.
I know wrestlers corpsing and making them each other break is one of the funniest things. If listeners, if you've not. Look up anything with Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and Jimmy and Jey Uso, and the words, "He just wasn't feeling very oozy," and prepare to wet yourself laughing.
Oh, and the John Cena and Undertaker one, where the Undertaker is doing everything in his power to not break character. And the levels that man has to go to try and stay in character as the Undertaker is amazing.
Mark Calloway does not get the props he deserves for maintaining character.
No,
for nearly 30 years, whilst in rings with some of the absolute bastards he wrestled with, because they all tried to make him break.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is a man who shared rings with the likes of Owen Hart, one of the most notorious pranksters in wrestling history.
Yep.
And he never broke.
Nope.
Ever.
Never once. I apologize if you can hear noises happening behind me. The windows are open because it is fucking hot. And I am not sitting in here with this PC running and the windows closed.
That's fair.
Because this PC ends up putting out a lot of heat.
Yeah. I mean, I have a fan running. I am down to just my sweatpants, and yeah, it's toasty.
I'm just sitting here wearing nothing but the blood of my victims. So moving on quickly, in a less litigious matter. So you've got an article for us on this episode.
I do. This time it comes from White Dwarf 156 from December of 1992. Good Lord, that's a long time ago.
That's more than 20 years ago. Jesus Christ.
32 years.
Yeah.
Cribbins. But this is the article on Space Wolf characters. Now, I can't remember if this was the first or the second Space Wolf article of this stretch, because GW basically, it was the end of Rogue Trader, and they introduced us, or they reintroduced the Space Wolves.
Yes.
Who prior to this had only really had a single miniature of their commander, one Liman Russ, and his wolfy companions.
That's right.
A lovely miniature, very Rogue Trader era. very Rogue Trader Space Marine sized. And then towards the end, at the time we didn't really know Rogue Trader was coming to its end, but they brought the Space Wolves back in a big way and revamped them completely to make them unique compared to Codex compliant Space Marines.
Well, I find it funny that doesn't the Space Wolves Codex hit before the Ultramarines one does?
The Space Wolf Codex was the first
Yes.
Codex of 2nd edition 40k.
That's mad, isn't it?
Isn't it just? But it set the template for every Codex for the edition.
Every Codex, every Warhammer armies, yep.
Yeah, it hit before all of them. I think. No, wait, did it hit before for High Army Book? I may be wrong on that one.
Hang on. I want to find out. No, High Elves was first. Okay.
I tell you. But it was the first 40k Codex. And it established but a lot of material was taken from these articles at the end of Rogue Trader in White Dwarf. And it introduced the idea that instead of squads, Space Wolves had packs, and they progressed by age. So new recruits started as Blood Claws, the feisty young assault troops.
Yes, I always liked that.
Yeah. As they progressed and became more seasoned, they became the Grey Hunters, the core of the chapter, the calm, steady yet ferocious warriors. And as they continued through their career, as their canines grew and their hair grew whiter, they became the Longfangs, trusted with the chapter's heavy weapons and fire support. And then you had the Wolf Guard, who were the commanders of the chapter, their personal guard, drawn from any member of their company who had shown great heroism. So every Wolf Guard was effectively a hero in some way, which, again, lovely concept.
Does the thing about the Longfangs tusks, for want of a better term, continuously growing still exist in the Space Wolves?
It does. The fangs are still a big element of it's one of the things that defines them. So it also went into a lot of how they made a Space Wolf.
Yeah.
So rather than and the idea that they had an additional organ to them beyond what most Space Wolves have. So the Space Wolves have the canine helix. Bit on the nose, but hey. And the idea is that as part of their aspirants becoming Space Wolves, they basically have to imbibe this wine that's mixed with blood and activates the canine helix.
Yes.
And it basically turns them into a giant werewolf, effectively, a monster. And they're dumped in the wastes of Fenris's northernmost continent. I think Azerheim is what it's called. Like I say, the Space Wolves are very on the nose of their Viking iconography at this point.
Oh, yes.
And again, this chapter established Fenris, the idea that it's this great death world, one of the most lethal in the galaxy, that it's only got a single stable continent. For the rest of the time, the landscape can change after the season of fire. But anyway, so they dump these aspirants out in the waste, and they have to return to the chapter's citadel of the Fang. But they are only accepted if they've managed to master themselves and master the beast. And a lot of failed aspirants they're either left to wander the wastes and continue to devolve into greater monsters, or they're actually killed on returning to the Fang because they are still quite clearly monsters. But anyone who can force their spirit back, to regain their humanity, is inducted into the chapter. And unlike other Marines, Space Wolves don't have a scout company, not in the way other chapters do. So instead of going into the scouts, they push all their new recruits, like I say, into the Blood Claws, because they're very hot-blooded and it lets them work it out. But it was one of these very fun ideas that they had, each of the squads had different rules attached to them, and they were just fun. And they broke the mold of what was being established as the Codex chapters at this point. And
I
it
just
gave
want to quickly say that I am incorrect. The Space Wolves does predate the Empire and High Elves. Empire came first in January of 1993. This comes out in December of 1992.
Wow.
So this predates the Warhammer Fantasy codexes.
That's kind of impressive.
That doesn't make any sense to my brain. I can't make heads or tails out of that.
I know, right?
Because that means that this version of Warhammer 40k was out before Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Yep.
Which,
well, bear in mind, this wasn't second edition yet. This was still Rogue Trader.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get my head around. That,
and it's really fun because you look at the stat. So this article is mainly focused on the Space Wolf characters. So it gives us two of the most iconic characters, and honestly, two of the models that have lasted longer than anything else in the Citadel range.
Yes.
in Ragnar Blackmane and Ulrich the Slayer. And they are kind of, I mean, literally, they are the archetypal Space Wolf characters. They were the first they were the first real name characters outside of Yarrick, the 40k, who had specific stats and equipment that I can remember anyway. You could make characters, but there was really nothing like this in terms of a unique personality. And there's a lot of fun here. I mean, Ragnar gets into how he's the youngest Wolf Lord, got his name because on his aspirant trial he slew a Blackmane, the deadliest breed of wolf on Fenris.
Yes.
He joined the Wolf Guard straight from Bloodclaws, and then after his lord was killed, he hunted down the warband that did the deed and slew them, and was acclaimed Wolf Lord in his stead. There's some. Now, bear in mind, it's a small block of text. It's only like a paragraph, effectively, of Ragnar's biography. But it's really evocative. I mean, I still remember to this day how evocative this was. Because it really gets you into the mood of what the character's like.
I also found it funny that he was called Ragnar Blackmane and he was blonde as hell.
I know, right? And then subsequent editions, they painted him black haired all the time. And
yeah,
but I liked the blonde hair. It was
I really like the blonde. It's weird, actually, because somewhere in my brain, I know it's not, and this is why I think I'm getting all confused here. In my brain, I am convinced that this is the announcement for the Space Wolves in 40k for Second Ed. I know it's not. This is still Rogue Trader, and that's why my brain's getting all confused here, because somewhere I have got this mixed up in my memories with the release of 40k Second Ed. So I'm wondering if I had this issue, because I started buying White Dwarf myself. I think it's around about 150 or somewhere like that. Hang on a second. 153. 153 is my first issue that I buy myself. Because I saw it on the shelves and I was like, oh, that's that thing that my cousins keep playing, and I've been, they keep inviting me to play whenever I'm around one of their houses being looked after, because my parents want to break from my madness. I then inherited, like 2 months later, all of my cousin's White Dwarfs, which goes right the way back to, I've got it actually written down here, 94, issue 94. So all of this is kind of mixed up in my head for being all at the same time, when the reality is there's like 4 years of White Dwarf drops on me at the same time that I'm getting into it myself.
That'll do it.
Oh yeah, memory. It's a weird fucking thing.
I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff in it. So you got, just looking at Ragnar's sheet for a second. So power armor is basically, given it's just power armor, it's a fair old whack of text there, but that's because it gets into, this is the era where they told you it had auto senses, targeters, suspensors, all this equipment that, if you've not played Rogue Trader, will make no sense in the slightest, because they mention it a lot in modern 40k, but it doesn't actually play a part in the rules. But back in the day, all of this did, and it was really fun, if a lot of bookkeeping,
Yeah.
And then he got his rules, so he's got a version of the Bloodclaw's Berserk charge because he's still young. He can dodge because he's got preternatural senses. He's got a battle howl, so he can basically do a version of Gaz's War, which is bonkers. But the bit that I've always loved is, if anyone's ever seen that classic Ragnar miniature that we had for nearly 30 years,
Yes.
that came out with this edition, around his feet, you may have noticed it's quite spiky.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because he has combat claws. Yes, in the around his boots, he has little knives that he can deploy at will to kick people, which is such a glorious idea. And it's not like it wasn't a particularly effective weapon either, because I think it did automatic wounds or something. It was, oh no, wait, hits on a 3+.
Yep.
Causes 1 wound with a strength of 4 and a -1 saving modifier.
Yes.
You know what? That's actually quite good.
It really is, because it's enough to quickly do something just to whittle someone down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, so he's got his bolt pistol, his chainsword, and 2 different types of grenade. Notice the
frags
grenades
and cracks.
Yeah, there's a frag grenade, grenade. Yeah.
Yeah, people always slept on grenades. And one of my favourite tactics, especially in second, was having a squad of tactical marines and just having them all lob frag grenades at someone.
Yes.
Always surprised people.
Yeah.
Nearly always blew a big hole in their lines because it's 10 templates landing across a squad.
I think people slept in war gear in general back in that.
Well, the thing is, there was war gear that was good, like vortex grenades and stuff. But there was also, he had all the stuff that was real, had the shine, had the shinies.
Yeah.
And people always kind of didn't really think about what the other stuff, the implications really were.
No.
Because there was some fun stuff in even the basic war gear, not in Rogue Trader and Second Ed 40k, but their rules did change a lot, but there was still a lot of fun stuff you could mess around with if you knew what you were doing.
Yes, no, absolutely.
and I think Ragnar could always... Oh yes, he could make 10 points worth of rolls on the... Or no, he could roll on the grenades table for 10 points a roll.
Yes.
Which is an idea that... Now, I don't know about you, but I miss the grenades table.
Yeah. I miss tables. I just miss tables in general.
They were fun, because basically you'd pay your points to make a roll, and I think it was a D100, wasn't it?
Yes, I want to say yes. It
was something daft, and you basically had a chart that could give you any grenade in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean anything. You could roll up more frags, you could roll up cracks, you could roll up plasma, blind, super frag, you could roll up virus bombs, you could roll up toxin grenades, rad grenades.
Yep.
If you were very lucky, you'd roll a vortex, which was always just nasty.
That's one word to say, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just bonkersly fun.
To give a bit of a hint about an upcoming episode of this, which is something I really want to get into, I want you to take the shock attack gun as stands right now in Modern 40k and compare it to the rules for the shock attack gun in Rogue Trader. Now, which of those is more fun?
I mean, honestly, the only weapon chart I enjoyed rolling on more than the shock attack gun was if a cyclone missile launcher got shot by someone.
Yes.
But those were the 2 best tables ever, because they were guaranteed to be delightful.
Oh, yes.
And hilarious, no matter who was rolling the dice.
Anybody ever says that when people talk about how, just Rogue Trader was better or that type of thing, I think mechanically what we've had over the last few years has been, I mean, mechanically, a better game. Yeah, there is no way that you can look at 10th Ed 40k and Rogue Trader and say that Rogue Trader is at its core mechanically a better game than 10th Ed. It's not.
That's fair.
Right. But flavor wise, good God in heaven, Rogue Trader's got everything beat. Yeah, they're amazing. There's so many levels of how things can go wrong. All right, and it just makes me so happy.
Absolutely. I mean, so I know we're getting a bit short on time, so I'll just quickly go into. We got our second character, Ulrich the Slayer, the Wolf Priest. Again, classic character. He's been in every Space Wolf book. He was the first one to get a plastic miniature, which is I still need to pick up because it's a great model. And I mean, the stuff. I mean, they get it right away into the fact he's the oldest living Space Wolf. He's trained most of the chapter's heroes because he picked them. He fought in the first Armageddon War as a Bloodclaw, and he was saluted by the Master of the World Eaters.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes.
Angron, the angriest angry man to ever exist in the angriest setting in existence, fought for Ulrich the Slayer as a Bloodclaw was worthy of giving him a salute. Now, at the time, this just sounded cool. Nowadays, you look at it and think, sweet baby Jesus, this guy's awesome. And he kind of is, because, I mean, he could have become a Wolf Lord, but instead he opted to become a Wolf Priest. Basically, the Space Wolves don't have apothecaries or chaplains, they combine the two. So he can do a bit of everything, and again, he's a fun old character.
I always like the fact that the wolf helm is something that possibly was once worn by Russ himself, could possibly have been.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can imagine him just going, no, it was, mate, it was. Are you sure? Did you write his name on it? No, but a friend of a friend told me he did.
Well, it's like Azrael's helmet, in which you realise there's no way that Johnson could have worn that thing.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have fit on his head.
Although it does lead to a rather hilarious moment in the current Dark Angel Codex. They mentioned that Azrael offered him the helmet back, and Johnson said, "No, keep it." You like to think if it's a case of Johnson picked it up and went, "Guys, does this look like I could fit it on my head? What's wrong with you?"
Which then leads to a wonderful modelling idea where you put a much larger helmet on Azrael.
Oh god! You know what? I have a sprue of Johnson's helmet head spare.
Yeah.
I didn't use any of the helmets when I built mine.
Mm-hmm.
I have Azrael in a box next to me that I've built. I could tear the head off easily and just pop one of his heads on instead.
I'm very, very tempted to see if I can get one of Johnson's helmets and a copy of Azrael just to do that.
That's hilarious.
I've been wanting to get like the Azrael and the characters that are all based on the Mark Gibbon artwork, just to.
I know, right?
Just to have them little like dioramas or something on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this current crop of plastic minis they're doing, GW, especially updating the older characters and using that Codex artwork and it's mostly second-ed artwork as well, which is really, really nice that they're doing.
Yes, yeah. Well, because it's classic art that got reused again and again and again.
But for models, they look so damn good. They don't need to be an army. You could just have fun painting them.
Yeah,
you know.
No, absolutely. It's something I really want to do is start collecting them just to have them as little build a diorama around them. And
I get that.
It'd be really nice.
But again,
just need someone to do the proper Gazgul Thraka. None of this current Gazgul Thraka nonsense. None of this.
We want big furry hat Gazgul.
Absolutely, he's got to have big stumpy boots, big furry hat, and the hat's going to basically be covering his eyes.
I have seen. I'm still trying to find out where they got it. I've seen someone in one of the Facebook groups has a Gaz that is the artwork of the Orc Codex, the second-ed Orc Codex. So it's a beefy Orc warlord, but he's got the full regalia on. So he's got the big hat, he's got the long coat, he's got the weapons look right, he's got the boss pole. It's big Gaz, but it's not absurdly big Gaz.
Yeah.
And if I can find out where he got it from, I I think I need one just because it looks great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either that or I try and convert the original Gaz miniature.
Good luck. Just because we're sort of running out of time here, just quickly, just because we didn't mention it earlier on, what came out?
Release it.
Yeah, what came out this month? This month is ridiculous,
isn't it? Just
so Battle Masters comes out, the follow-up to Hero Quest, which is the MB Games Workshop Coalition creating a tabletop war game, which is both amazing and shit at the very same time. It's an incredible experience of, this is a release which should never have happened, and their reach far outstretches their grasp. They swung for the stars and missed.
It's amazing how much plastic is in that box. A friend of mine actually had a copy that in their loft that they dug out, and they asked me to look over it for them.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't buy it off them because I couldn't, in good conscience, give them what it deserved.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I just couldn't afford it.
No,
I didn't want to lowball them because I know what about. And it was pretty much. I think it was missing one set of stickers.
Good God!
It was that complete.
Good Lord!
It had not been touched.
Yeah,
I mean, stuff was still on the sprues. That's how good it was.
Bloody hell!
But I mean, you had plastic versions of Empire Knights, you had plastic ogres, plastic infantry. It was a smorgasbord. I'm still amazed to this day that. And, all right, I'm not, because I kind of understand licensing probably played a part. The fact that pretty much none of those miniatures got released separately boggles my mind, because they could have made a killing on that.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact they didn't on the game, because it didn't sell anywhere near like they thought it would.
No, that's because it was expensive as well.
Oh, yeah.
50 quid,
was,
you know.
Yeah. 50 quid in 1992 money was,
yeah.
Even for a big Christmas release, that was pushing it.
No, absolutely. And the molds are a bit soft. Yeah, there's a real softness to them, which kind of brings it down a bit. But the fact you got that massive tower in two armies, and I saw those Empire Knights turn up in Warhammer Fantasy armies all over the place.
Absolutely, yeah, they were.
As well, they should have. You know, it's incredible.
We got another 5-6 years before we had Plastic Knights.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. Also, Warhammer Battle Magic comes out. The
oh my word,
absolutely incredible big boxo spells, which ended up being in a lot of my RPG games at the time, known as the big boxo spells.
It's such a good box, though.
It is. The sheer amount of magic items and spells you get in there is insane.
I was so gutted, though, when they went to 5th and redid it. They put the names of everything on the back of the cards.
Mm-hmm.
Which defeats because one of the joys of the original Warhammer Battle Magic box was you could deal out spells randomly and magic items randomly.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that in the 5th edition box, because you had the side of the card which had the name and all what the item did. On the other side of the card, they put the bloody name of what it did.
Yeah.
Which
is just silly. So silly.
It just takes away an element of the game that was just so much fun, because I mean, I played a lot of games of Warhammer at the local store where in this edition you deal out your magic cards, you look at your spells and go, oh, or ooh, depending on what you got, because you might get something good, you might get something an utterly shit hand.
Yep. Hand of Death in Van Hal's Dance Macabre.
Yeah, if you got both of those, you were singing as an undead player. If you didn't, you were boned. Literally.
Oh, yes, yeah. There's the name.
And the same for magic items. Some places we did deal magic items randomly to avoid people just always picking the best cards. And it just made things so much more fun, because you didn't know what you were going to get.
No.
You could get a super special Sword of All Slaying, and it'd be on a guy with one attack who doesn't want to go anywhere near the front line because he's supposed to be blinking spells at someone.
Good days.
But no, that was such a great expansion. That and Dark Millennium are two of the best expansions I've ever had for any game.
Oh, Dark Millennium. Dark Millennium was incredible. We also got the majority of the Metal Knight Goblin line turns up, as well as the majority of the Space Wolf line. And over in the High Elves, we get Tyrion and Teclis drop.
Yeah.
Good
Hot damn.
God. And those things really just lasted. Those two minis lasted for a very, very long time. I mean, did either of them ever really get an update?
Yeah, they did, because they redid both of them around, because Tyrion had his big glow up to the monster base.
Yeah.
That was, I want to say, 6th edition, because it was when the High Elf Army book had its big revamp, and they did a lot of plastic units.
Mm-hmm.
Teclis had a similar update, but his miniature didn't look. The miniature they did for him for this release, it's weird because Tyrion looked a bit static, whereas Teclis looked baller in this release.
Yes.
But when they updated them, the opposite happened. Tyrion looked fantastic, and Teclis looked a little mid.
Yes. Yeah.
You'd say.
Looking at the
So a
pictures
lot of
now,
people just didn't use that model. They went back and sort out the original Teclis miniature, which I get because it's a fantastic miniature. And the Tyrion one as well is a damn good model because it's full of detail.
Oh yeah, full of detail, and he looks like an elf tank, which you don't often see.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to me that in this very short period of time, like 2-3 months, you had the Space Wolf stuff that introduced the Space Wolves as pretty much they've existed from now till today.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff about Space Marines that has gone on right through 9 editions. And then you have Tyrion and Teclis, who they're still linchpins of the lore today.
Have I told you my theory about Tyrion and Teclis?
Oh, yes. Which would be hilarious if that was true.
It explains why Teclis stops fucking up and doing everything wrong.
I'm still waiting to see Tyrion make his appearance in Age of Sigmar properly.
Yeah, I think
that's going to be very interesting.
Absolutely. I hope he's just a giant cat. Right. Well, with all that being said, we're going to start drawing things to a close. And you guys at home, let me know how you found these. If you want any articles if there's any articles that you want us to cover, if you want us to get into anything, if you want us to look at anything, feedback is always appreciated. If you've got questions for us, send us questions. Just make sure that hashtag to whatever this show's name is.
Yeah, and just remember questions of why, who are you, what did we do to deserve this? You know what you did.
Yes, you in your last life you did that thing. You remember, in that hotel. Yeah, naughty, very naughty.
And remember, if you don't give us ideas, otherwise it'll just be what me and Gruff suggest.
Yeah. And shock attack gun is going to be the next episode.
Yeah. Bear in mind, we picked our first 2 issues, and it's within 6 months of each other.
Yeah, because we're old.
Yeah.
So going to try and do a bit better than that. Try and expand out a little bit. Although if every time we do this, because we do this randomly, like we already decided that these are the ones we're going to do this morning. If we still manage to pick 2 issues that are 6 months in from each other, from whichever time period we go for, that's going to be really weird.
Isn't it just?
So, with all that being said, we will get out of here. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm going to go because, from the sounds of it, people are now trying to cut down a tree. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's once again time for whatever this show's called. We still haven't really given it a full name. It is formally Saving for Skaven at this point, but it will get a better name. But I'll think about it and gaze into my Morbian orb. No, not my Morbs. I am Adam, as always, and with me today is my favourite Big Swingin' D. It's Big Swingin' D.
It's Morbid time.
I didn't watch Morbius for so long because I wanted it to stay being like a Pandora's box of... There is every opportunity, every chance that he does actually say Morbing time. And if I don't watch the film, I will never know that he doesn't.
That's fair. I mean, I still haven't seen it.
My favourite thing about Sony's Morbius film is that after it got released a second time in cinemas, somebody started a petition saying, release Morbius in cinemas a third time. We were all busy that weekend.
The thing is, the team at Sony are seemingly so clueless. They probably would do that.
I think there's just a big red button that says "Release Morbius," and people keep like leaning on it.
Bless their souls. They're so determined to make all these B and D-list Spider-Man villains work on their own, aren't they?
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
Although I am tempted to go and see Craven just because it looks so daft.
Oh yes, Craven, friend to the animals.
Yeah. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is normally quite good fun to watch. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
he commits. Bless him.
he does. He does. Yeah. Aye.
Yeah. But shall we not go off down on a tangent this early in the recording? Shall we?
Are you sure you don't want to talk about Venom 3 and the Venom horse? Because that seems to be a thing that people are into.
I know, right?
And by people, I mean me. Yeah.
So Tom Hardy is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Tom Hardy is having just a great time with those films, and he's a very happy man because of them, I think.
Yeah. And part of me does just want to see him and Tom Holland interacting for shits and giggles, because it couldn't be anything less than hilarious.
Two Toms, yeah. My two Toms.
Imagine if they had Tom Hiddleston turn up as Loki as well.
Right, so what we need is to get every script to My Two Dads, right? And then have Tom Hardy and Tom Hiddleston in there as the two dads of Tom Hardy. No, hang on.
Tom Hardy and Tom Hiddleston are the two dads of Tom Holland.
Oh, Tom Holland, thank you. Yes, aye. So they're the two dads, and you've got Tom Holland, and he's trying to hide the fact he's Spider-Man. One's trying to hide the fact that he's Venom, and the other one's trying to hide the fact that he's Loki. And we've got a sitcom. Also, there's a talking dog.
God damn it.
There's a.
See, do you want to hear something really funny?
Mm-hmm.
Have you read much Deadpool in recent years?
On and off.
I'm going to give you a quick update on Deadpool's personal life at the moment.
Okay.
Are you aware he has a daughter?
Yes.
Are you aware he has two daughters?
No.
His second daughter is actually a symbiote who's taken the form of a hound who insists on calling him Papa. and the thing is, it's a symbiote that's more of the Carnage strain.
Okay.
She's lovely, and she and Ellie, Deadpool's daughter, of his other daughter, have recently met, and they're getting like a house on fire. She just will also massacre anyone that Deadpool tells her to. But she's adorable because she's also like only a few months old. It's great.
One of my favourite things that's happening at the moment is Rob Liefeld trying his damnedest to really stake his claim in that Deadpool's popular because he created him.
Isn't it great to see him just get his ass handed to him every time he tries it? Oh,
it's so good. It's so good. I know there's a lot of Liefeld apologists out there who hang on his every word, or start to create his Facebook group. But, just the majority of people who are just going, no, Deadpool's popular and it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
You just made Deathstroke because you're shit. Anyhow, do you want to talk about something that isn't shit?
Would it be Chaos Dwarfs by any chance?
It would be. So,
excellent.
What we're going to talk about this afternoon for a little bit is from White Dwarf issue 161, May 1993. And it is the rise of the Chaos Dwarfs, the Big Hat Chaos Dwarfs. Some stuff came out that month.
Yeah.
So what came out that month? This is an interesting collection of things. So you get the entire Chaos Dwarf line. Some of it was held over until the following month, but you get the lead Deathwing Terminators.
They were nice.
Do you know why you get the lead Deathwing Terminators? This is a really interesting fact.
Go on.
So I only discovered this when I was researching this earlier today. The month before, in April, Games Workshop Books moves from Pringle to Box Train.
Yeah.
right? And a big part of that is that Deathwing comes out, the actual anthology book Deathwing.
Yeah.
That comes out the month before this, as part of the first run of Box Tree Books Games Workshop releases, and obviously alongside it comes the Deathwing Terminators.
You know what? I never put that together in my head before.
Never realised it until today.
I mean, I've read that anthology many
Yeah.
times, but that's kind of blown me away because I just didn't even connect the two in my head.
No, I didn't, because Deathwing itself was written. It was part of the Pringle releases originally, but it's the first book that comes out with Box Tree.
Wasn't the Deathwing short story actually part of the one of the Space Hulk?
It was the actual short story itself was in the Gene Stealer supplement for Space Hulk. Yeah,
I thought so. Yeah,
it's not as long as it is in the anthology book.
No,
it's
still bloody good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Also, this month it comes out in Games Workshop is the Man-O-War Dwarf ships.
Those were great.
Oh yes, the Man-O-War Bretonian ships.
Those were hilarious.
And then Ian Watson's Space Marine and Warblade by David Ferring, both of which are books that I will fight anyone who say they aren't great. I realise that they are real fucking weird, but
it was also the 90s, the early 90s.
It's a strange one. It's something that I feel as Games Workshop solidified, they lost a lot of the weird. There is still weird, but it's weird in a different way. It's controlled weird. Whilst Space Marine is a weird space opera that's really homoerotic.
But it was also the first time, well, it's literally the first full-length novel about Space Marines.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I mean, I only remember, I never actually read the full book, to my shame, because I keep meaning to.
Mm-hmm.
But I read the excerpt that was in White Dwarf.
Yeah.
And it did a lot of stuff, like it introduced me to Necromunda.
Yes.
And the idea that the Imperial Fists have an outpost there, which has always been a cool bit of lore to my mind.
And yet they've never turned up in a single version of Necromunda itself.
They have. I'm sure they have mentioned it more recently. It has cropped up more prominently. It's just not some. It's not. I think because it's always in the Underhive, that wouldn't apply. But part of you just thinks, wouldn't it be cool to have an unarmored Space Marine creeping around the Underhive, assessing potential candidates?
That would be cool. That would be very cool.
Because it's kind of a thing that a Marine would do. A chaplain would do, for that matter.
See, I just want to have, like, you've got 3 gangs and 1 Marine.
Yeah. Have the Marine actually statted like a Marine would be. That'd be hilarious. Necromunda gangs versus 1 unarmored Space Marine.
Yep.
And if you want even more shits and giggles, put him in full power armor.
Yeah.
And just watch as these bumpkins with lashed together firearms that are more likely to blow your arm off and actually do what you're meant to.
No, I think in the full idea of Ian Watson Space Marine, he should be Games Workshop's fully frontally nude model. Just no clothes whatsoever. Just.
I mean, there is at least one company that does do.
Yeah,
accurate, unarmored, fully, as the God Emperor intended, Space Marines to scale.
Yep.
Which, is actually kind of refreshing to see. They do Sister Battle, of course, because of course they're going to. But it's refreshing that they've done the Marines as well. It's nice balance.
Aye. Balancing naked Marines.
Adam, are you thinking JoJo references again?
I'm just thinking about having naked Marines, like balancing. This one balances. This one is too heavy. Just people like, why are you trying to teach people gravity using naked Space Marines?
Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we? Welcome to my school. This week we're going to count up to 10. 1 naked Space Marine. 2 naked Space Marines.
We really are terrible human beings, aren't we?
Full moon, total eclipse. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about this article. So this is the launch of the Chaos Dwarfs.
Yeah.
As they have been turned completely into a race of their own. The Chaos Dwarfs did exist before this. They were mini Chaos Warriors. They came with such wonderful weapons like the Tenderizer and the Whirlwind. I wonder why that didn't stay in Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Did they not have some models for Blood Bowl as well?
They did,
Chaos Dwarfs,
yeah.
Which was somehow even more hilariously violent looking than the dwarf range of war engines.
Yes. Yeah, the second edition Blood Bowl had some metal, like mini Chaos Warrior Chaos Dwarfs, which
did.
And I love my big hat dwarfs. I'm not going to, take anything away from them, but there's something about that original run of Chaos Dwarfs which I just adore. I think it's just the sheer silliness of them. They're heavily armored as all hell.
Yeah.
And then they're just tiny. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, it's like with the Chaos Squads, which they're so evil, they're adorable.
Yes. Yes. That's going to be the name of this episode.
Oh, who's an evil little warlord? Who's an evil warlord?
It's like having a cat, isn't it? Oh, look at you, you little bundle of murder and flesh.
Yeah. Now there's a pitch for Chaos Squads. They're like cats.
They are cats. You take off the mask and it's just like 3 cats driving
the Chaos Photon, who have engineered themselves to be more cat-like. And I know for a fact there are companies that do cat people heads of various styles, from anime all the way to horribly disturbing. So don't think I won't do this given half a chance.
I want them to be photorealistic cat heads on photon bodies. There is your mission.
I mean, you can get the heads.
Yeah. I'm not doing it. It's your idea. I've got enough to do. I've got a Gene Stealer Cult Titan sitting next to me.
Well, I mean, I can't say much. I've just built a whole load of Primaris Spatial Terminators and more Ultra Smurfs.
Why, when you said that, did I get the Unreal Tournament Ultra Kill sound in my head?
Ultra Kill.
Ultra Smurf! Killer Instinct. Ultra Combo! Extreme Smurf! Anyhow, so Chaos Dwarfs. So Rick Priestley gets deep into the background of what the Chaos Dwarfs are like. And if you want to hear this, I have a video up on the YouTube where I basically do deep dives into the Chaos Dwarfs in a series called Old World Order, where this is heavily... Because the Chaos Dwarfs, the Big Hat Chaos Dwarfs had such little anything. They had one White Dwarf Presents army book, and that was it.
Which pretty much all the stuff from this article, and I think the next month?
3 months worth of Chaos Dwarf stuff, which is all just compiled into a compendium. It's sad. Now, apparently, the Chaos Dwarfs didn't sell well, but wherever you go, you always talk about people who loved having their Chaos Dwarf army. So
yeah, because they were bloody lethal. I mean, those blunderbusses, I hated those things. They would just massacre anything that went near them. Because what was it, a 24-inch block
Python
of auto hit?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, for anyone not aware, the Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses was their main ranged unit. And
yes.
It's like I said, it's a blunderbuss. But their rule was, you don't roll a hit. Instead, you basically, anything in a block from one end of the rank to the other, and in front of it up to 24 inches, gets hit.
Yes.
By everything in the unit.
Yes.
That's a lot of dwarf blunderbusses making you go bye-bye.
Yeah, so what you had was the best gun in Fantasy Battle by none. There was probably even the best ranged unit in Fantasy Battle.
Yeah.
I'd struggle to think of anybody outside maybe the High Elf Sea Guard
Yeah.
with their longbows who are any better. I think they might have done more. They had the potential to do more damage per turn than the
And they'd have
blunderbusses.
been incredibly flexible in what they could do on the battlefield.
Well, I think if memory serves me right, couldn't they fire and then fire again?
Well, the High Elves could always fire in 2 ranks, which gave you a bonus anyway. The Sea Guard...
I see. Something in my brain seems to tell me that...
Because they've had a couple of versions over the years.
Yeah.
But I think at the time this came out, their main rule was... It might have been they could shoot twice.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been that they could actually shoot and retreat if they were charged.
I think shoot and retreat came later in this version,
yes,
which would have been... This would have been 4th edition Fantasy Battle.
Yeah.
I think it was they could shoot twice.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Which, if memory serves me right, was Jesus.
and High Elf longbows were nothing to be sneezed at.
No, they weren't. I mean, if you were going up against something like goblins or something, you were hitting on 2s.
Yeah. And it was what, strength 4, 36-inch range?
Yeah.
Which is just obscene, especially hitting that accurately.
Yeah. If you're hitting like night goblins who had a save of 6+, you were wiping out. You were wiping out a night goblin unit very, very quickly.
Which you need to, because there are so many of the bastards.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's always the wonderful thing that night goblins at that point, because of their enmity rule, they hated dwarfs and had an enmity towards high elves.
Oh, they
elves
did, didn't they? Yeah.
So it meant that they would not lose psychology due to half the unit being shot down.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and let's be honest, anyone facing night goblins wanted to make them go away purely because of the fanatic rule.
Absolutely, yeah.
Those little sods.
Well, the fanatics in fourth ed Fantasy Battle were murderous.
Mm-hmm.
I think they got worse in, I want to say 7th, 6th, 7th, something like that.
Well, there's a reason Empire players made great use of Kislev horse archers and pistoliers.
Yes.
To draw the little swines out.
Yes.
And then fill them full of lots and lots of holes. Or if you were very lucky, let the misfire dice scatter them back into the unit that flung them out in the first place, which was equally hilarious.
Oh yes. Oh man, the days of scatter dice. Oh, that's what Age of Sigmar's missing: scatter dice and templates. Always annoys me you don't get templates anymore. Templates are great.
Yeah.
Now the Chaos Dwarf blunderbusses may have been insanely good at shooting, but do you remember how good the bull centaurs were if they could charge into attack?
Yes.
They weren't as good as the Chaos Knights. The Chaos Knights still stood as being the best.
The Chaos Knights were someone in the design team having a real hard-on for Chaos Knights.
I think that the Chaos Knights were somebody who was sick to death of their Chaos Marauders getting constantly shot down by Empire troops.
There is that as well, yeah.
If you remember in the edition before, in 3rd ed, the Chaos Marauders on horseback were so easy just to pick off if you had longbows or crossbows. So I think somebody just went, well, fuck you then. And they made the Chaos Knights into this death triangle.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they had given the Empire the Hellblaster volley gun.
Very true, yeah.
Which is kind of unfair to every other race in the game, because if you roll poorly, you're stuffed. If you roll anywhere well with a Hellblaster volley gun, you would just make people go away. Or you'd blow up the entire thing and its crew. Either or worked for me, to be honest. And if you could bounce your cannonballs,
yes.
If you knew your ranges, which I once upon a time I did get quite good at with my non-artillery train.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was that guy. I still have 5 or 6 metal cannons in a box somewhere that I need to rebuild. Yeah, you could do a lot of harm to anything if you could bounce your cannonballs just right.
Aye.
And Chaos Knights were the ultimate answer to that question.
They were. And you're just underneath them. You had the bull centaurs, and below the bull centaurs, you had the orc boar boys, and they were the three. I want to say mounted. Bull centaurs aren't mounted, but for all intents and purposes, rules wise, they are treated as a mount.
They were the 3 deadliest cavalry units in the game.
Yes.
Right up until they introduced Saurus Knights and Bretonnian Knights.
Well, it's the fun thing that in the next edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, everything gets nerfed down for the Bretonnians and the Saurus, the lizard men, except the Chaos Knights.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
Yeah, the get you by rule list for the Chaos Dwarfs was shit. Which, yeah, that if memory serves me right, I think that only came out in Citadel Journal.
Was it?
I don't think it came.
No,
because they're in the book.
Because they weren't in the Rampage and Hordes booklet, were they?
No, I don't think they were.
Yeah, that was always a bit of a shame.
Mm-hmm. They turned back up in the Ravenous Hordes one later on in 6th, I think it was. But they were nothing. Yeah, they were just nothing.
Yeah.
And it isn't until Forge World did the Legions of Asgore in in the edition before the End Times, anyhow. That the Chaos Dwarfs actually did anything, and that Legion of Asgore rule set is really good, but Jesus Christ, that was an expensive army to get, and I never did.
I was a bit saddened because do you remember for God, I've forgotten the name of the campaign now. For one with Volton and Archaon going ham before
Storm of Chaos.
That's it. Yeah, they had that Chaos artillery piece with some lovely Chaos Dwarf crew. And I was always hoping that they'd do an expanded range using that aesthetic. Because it kind of combined, you had the ringed beards, and they looked brutal, and there was a hint of the tusks to them. But they didn't have the absurdly stereotypical hats. So it was a little less racially offensive.
Do you know why the hats are so tall? This isn't a joke. This is an actual thing.
Go on.
So when they were sculpting the hat, it was not anywhere near the size that it ended up. And it wouldn't be Brian Ansell at this point. I think he'd left. It was whoever the CEO was at that time. The head of the design studio. They said that they just didn't look enough like... They looked too similar to normal dwarfs, only with tusks. So they wanted the hats to be slightly bigger. So the guy went away, sculpted a stupidly large hat, and then came back with it, and they went, perfect. And he went, what?
It's just like the whole thing with Nagash, where Morley did 2 heads, and they picked the daft football head instead of the really
they picked the joke head, I always like to think what Nagash must have looked like with skin when I look at that model, because I think the leader from the Hulk cartoon might be.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Just giant head.
I will say that the Chaos Dwarf range is actually a really nice range of models. Alan Perry was cooking with these.
Oh God,
he built a really nice aesthetic for the whole lot, and
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I don't think he had any intention to make them racially offensive to anyone, because you can see bits of Greek, bits of Russian Orthodox, bits of Jewish Orthodox in some of the designs with like big hats and ring beards. But that's not all there is to them. There's a bit more from that, and they've got a really the fact that it's a whole army coming in one hit. Well, two hits technically.
Yeah,
but they set a really nice standard for them.
They did, and okay, I think in modern day it's very easy to go back and see the racial stereotypes that were possibly in the Chaos Dwarf sculpt. I myself, and I'm going to prefix this with being, I'm just a white guy who just ambles through life, do. I see them as being very Babylonian in the way of the Babylonian statues and that type of thing. So whilst it is, I think, very easy to go back and say, actually, no, these guys look like this. It's okay, I can see where you're coming from, but I've always seen them more like the
Yeah,
statues that
see
you
that.
get.
Quite a lot of Assyrian, Babylonian stuff in there.
Yeah, no, very, very much that
That
kind
makes more
of.
sense. And Alan Perry and his brother, and to be fair, a lot of the GW design team, especially at that point in the studio's history,
Mhm.
were big history buffs and ancient
Yeah,
history
oh,
buffs,
massively.
because you can see it
Yeah.
all over the sculpts of Warhammer from, well, any period really, but especially this one. They just
Hmm.
dip into different periods of time and draw inspiration and ideas to make something that kind of cooks, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well, this is the grand expansion of Fantasy Battle.
mm,
You know, this is this era, 1993, 1992 to 1994. It's Warhammer Fantasy Battle expanding.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it is creating a lot of. It's a weird one, much like Rogue Trader. Warhammer Fantasy Battle in second ed comes out and it is very much recognizable as Fantasy Battle.
mm,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. There's the Border Princes and
yeah,
all that type of things. A lot of the more high end or far away stuff doesn't get really looked at.
mm,
It is you are a shit farmer and your shit farmer is going to farm shit.
yeah,
Yeah, that is very much what they're going for. So everything works around that.
mm,
In the early 90s, it pushes Warhammer into being, well, there's all this as well.
mm,
And it adds color and it adds a lot of dynamism to it. And it becomes very much what we already know, but righted. You know, it
yeah,
tilts everything slightly, but it just gets it all there. And then the next edition, um, it just solidifies
yeah,
everything. Yeah, everything that is in fifth edition One Fancy Battle is everything that's going to be there until the end.
yeah,
It's a very weird. Looking at the history of Fancy Battle is a really weird one because, as I say, much like Rogue Trader, it appears pretty much fully formed. It's just
yeah,
little minor tweaks and things. And this edition is very much taking what they've already got and just trying to move it into something that is going to be more. It's less that is French Renaissance, but in
mm,
fantasy. And this is the Empire. There are elements of dirt farmer Europeans there, but there's also a bit of romanticism
yeah,
from the Romantic period. But there's also a little bit of Van Gogh going on in
mm,
some of the animals, and yeah,
yeah,
it's a real interesting hodgepodge that all comes together really nicely.
absolutely. And it's the year of the army book system beginning.
Yes.
And I mean, I still have all of the army books from this and the next edition, from this and fifth edition, definitely,
Hmm. Yeah,
because they were just brilliant books,
there were,
and
there were,
they
and
and they went so much in on each of the factions in a way that you really couldn't get before. Because prior to
no.
this, you had to dig into different source books and rule books, find a White Dwarf article here and there. I mean, I still remember this is kind of when I began collecting White Dwarf really, and I picked up some older
Hmm.
ones which had the articles that formed the basis of the Empire Army book going forward, and introduced me to the knightly orders and the colleges of magic in a way that they hadn't really done before.
Yeah.
And then they collected it all into the army books in a
Yes.
way that, but they expanded on it as well, so it wasn't just copy and paste.
Yeah.
To some extent, it was, but they also did a lot more to it than you'd have expected, and it just set the tone for everything going forward.
Yeah.
Which,
Well, look at the Warhammer Armies Empire book that comes out with this edition,
mm,
right? They take everything that's already existed, that's been built up through Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, through the previous edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, all the little stories and things that have come out of that, the little battle reports and things, and they've solidified it, merged it, and turned it into one cohesive whole.
yeah,
So it's a really interesting thing that it always. I always find it really interesting just how much of both 40k and Fantasy Battle arrives fully formed with just writing of the ship happening
mm,
between editions.
absolutely. And it's
Uh,
kind of a shame that with the Chaos Dwarves, they. I'm actually surprised that they didn't sell very well because I always thought they were. I mean, I faced Chaos Dwarves a few times over the years,
yeah,
and they always
but
seemed like an army that was popular because they were quite. It was a quite tight range, but also very powerful for what it was.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's a really strange one. I think much like the squats, they didn't know where to go with it afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, send from where
and
they
that's-
did in the wastes. I mean, you can. There's the map in the article that is kind of
yeah,
really nice because it sets up their realm quite nicely in the Darklands and everything.
hmm
But it also puts them quite a way away from everyone,
they are.
which is a very odd thing to do because it means that every army we ever see of them really is not an army you'd expect to see anywhere in the old world itself. They're the sort
I
of
think you've got the Cursed Dwarves coming out and doing like slaver raids and stuff, and obviously as time goes on, they have to move further and further out. So yeah, it makes sense. I always thought it was weird that they were never given just slaves.
like
You didn't have just like here's a unit of various different races all forced to be a unit together with a slave master.
see, that's the sort of concept I could see the design team really running with today, because I think that it's a sort of thing that, much like the old Kruger's, do you remember the old Dogs of War unit, Kruger's Legion?
Yep.
Which actually had skeleton elves and dwarves, and as well as
Skaven and
it's
yes.
the
Yeah, I
sort of
remember
thing
that.
we all understand why they've never really gone for multiple races in a way like that, because it is quite hard to do from a design point of view and get it manufactured. There's a lot of work
Yeah.
involved in that. It's much easier to keep it single race, so it gives you cross compatibility of parts and stuff.
Yeah.
But tell me, a member of the design team, if you told them, I have a race of evil dwarves, I need you to give me a unit that is a mixture of all these races that have been enslaved, and we're going to use them as cannon fodder.
Yeah.
I can't see anyone on the design team saying no to that offer. They're going to go nuts.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because conceptually,
it's an interesting one because you've got Warcry and you've got Underworlds at the moment. Although, is Underworld still really going? I don't know.
It is. They do keep releasing warbands. I keep meaning to pick up the latest Undead one, to be fair.
Right.
Because I keep buying for miniatures because they look cool.
I've got a theory that Underworlds and Warcry is the testing the waters thing. That's where people create stuff, put it out, and see how people react. But not enough people loved the cruel boys monkeys, as far as I'm concerned, because I want an army of those monkeys. Those monkeys are ace.
That's because people keep buying them to use them as Dracaro conversions.
Yes.
Which means what I need to buy a set for, to be honest.
I mean, same, just for my own personal amusement.
I mean, on the bit sites, that one of those monkeys goes for a tenner on most of them.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because no one wants any of the other parts from the kit. They just want the monkeys.
Because the cruel boys are shit.
I still maintain, if they'd been pitched as the AOS version of Hobgoblins, they'd have done much better, because to me they have all that vibe. They're Hobgoblins plus. They're lanky, they're mean. If you told me that this is a race of orcoids who are kind of, they're not as mean, they're not as big and mean as your Iron Jaws, they're not as small and sneaky as your Grots, they're a bit of both, and they're
my problem with Cruel Boys, there's three problems I've got with the Cruel Boys.
Go on.
Right. One, the design aesthetic does not fit with the Iron Jaws or the Bone Splitters at all. They don't look like the same race that's moved aside and evolved differently. They look like a completely different race. The designs themselves aren't bad in any way, shape, or form. I actually really like the designs.
Absolutely.
And if what I did was I painted all mine up to be Chaos cultists.
Oh, that's cool.
So you had them in a Chaos Dwarf army. Chaos Dwarf army. You had them in a Be'lakor army as the different clans, because they've got a real Ian Miller look to them, which I really like, especially with the armor and stuff. It's really cool. But once you paint them in flesh and they look less orky, they really come to life. They look so much better. Yeah. The third and biggest problem is that they teased it as a race that was living in the swamps that was sneaking out and getting hold of people.
You were really hoping for FEMA, weren't you?
I really was. I was so excited, like, yes, yeah, are they going to do it? Are they going to bring the Fimir back? Oh my god, please, please. And then it's like, now the shit orcs. Oh, well, I'm never forgiven you for that.
Yeah. I mean, I get
Never.
why they've not touched the FEMA not properly in.
The problematic stuff about the Fimir it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Fimir lay eggs now. It's gone. They got rid of it years ago. Years and years and years ago.
Fimir have a great design to them.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
They're an amazing. It's a weird one where, for a lot of years, it felt like Games Workshop was scared of its own designs. You know, where they had the Fimir, the Chaos Dwarfs, these really interesting things that were very much theirs. You know, I mean, yes, the Fimir are born from the Greek, the Celtic mythology of the
Firbolg and all that.
they're born of that, but it's all that one-eyed cyclopean lizard creature that lives in the swamps. You know, that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's very much unlike anything that was around at the time. And they just seem to get real scared of having their own stuff and walked it back real quickly. And then the only thing that's really survived from Fantasy Battle, which is very much 110% Games Workshops, is the Skaven.
That's true.
And
yeah.
How long has it taken for them to get what they're getting now? You know?
Yeah, kind of a shame, really.
It's weird. It's a really weird thing. Is there anything else you want to say about the Chaos Dwarfs? Because
just for
I think that
this initial article, there's so much good work to give them their background, stuff like Hasher. The stuff with Chaos Dwarf Sorcerers, how they're slowly turning into stone from all they use their powers, is wonderful.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah, the introduction of the Black Orcs and the Hobgoblins to the old world. I mean, people forget Black Orcs. The Chaos Dwarf list is where Black Orcs came from. They didn't exist in the game.
Yeah. Well, they kind of did. Kind of.
Yes.
So they existed as just being like Orcs plus.
Yeah. I mean, you had like Orc Boys and bigger Orcs, but the Black Orcs were always something a bit special as how they are presented. They this unique sub race that the Chaos Dwarves had bred and promptly lost half because they broke out because they were too damn good at what they wanted them to do.
And then you get the Hobgoblins, who, honestly, there's a picture down in the corner here that Mark Gibbons did, and that picture lives in my brain.
I mean, it does just say everything about what a Hobgoblin is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're sneaky, but they carry a big axe.
Sneaky, big axe, big old tummy. There's a cool thing about the Chaos Dwarfs. It's not in here. I think it was something that was in the Citadel Journal article. I don't know. Maybe if this is popular, we'll expand out to Citadel Journal articles as well, because that could be quite fun.
Yeah.
Where your Chaos Dwarf sorcerers are born as Chaos Dwarf sorcerers. They don't come to it and learn it. They are born with that power. So turning into stone is just their inevitable demise.
Yeah.
So from the moment you're born, you are on the timer that you're going to be turned to stone.
Yeah, and the idea that the roads of the Chaos Dwarves' capital city are just lined with not statues, the actual solidified corpses of previous sorcerers is just brilliant. I mean, as a concept, that's just so brutally, hilariously Warhammer, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, you're walking up to Sarah Dundon, there's just all these statues, just torches stuck in their hats and things. It's a real weird experience.
And of course, you have the wonderful Chaos Dwarf Lord riding his great Taurus, which is still one of the more inventive miniatures GW have done, I think.
It's it doesn't come out this month; it comes out next month. But the
Lamassu is just.
Oh my god, I love the Lamassu.
Yeah, the Great Taurus is wonderful. The Lamassu is just nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, come on, Games Workshop. Now is the time. Now, if ever there was a time to get the Chaos Dwarfs back, and it's now. It's AOS.
Yeah.
Or I don't care, AOS or in the old world. Just do it. Just Bring them back to me,
Yeah.
please.
But it is one of those articles. If anyone gets a chance to find it online anywhere, or if they can't, just ask Gruff, and I'm sure he'll sling the files he's scanned of it your way. Read this first Chaos Dwarf article by Rick, because it does. I mean, it's only actually 3 pages of text.
But it's so dense.
One map, 1 full-page piece of art, and 3 pages of heavy metal painted miniatures. That was it.
Yeah.
They did do a second article the following month, and I think the month after, because they did have this kind of pattern of doing these reveals this way. Because the thing is, they had done this for a lot of the other factions for their army books. They'd put chunks of it in White Dwarf.
Yep.
But the Chaos Wars was the first race that didn't get the army book afterwards. So the army books normally would be all the White Dwarf material, given a polish up and with lots more on top of it. The Chaos Dwarf White Dwarf Presents book instead was literally just this material from the 3 issues. I think a battle report and maybe some magic items. There was nothing extra added to it, which has always been a great shame.
It has. It really has.
If you want to see how you introduce a new race to a game, read this article. It's such a good read because it's almost entirely from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's so far removed from the rest of the old world that it is, there's nothing else to hook onto.
Yeah.
This is its own thing.
It's great.
And that John Blanche piece of art is just gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. There's a part of me that wants to go back in time and slap myself. Because when I was younger, I always thought John Blanche was like the weaker artist. I
think we've all gone through that phase of just not understanding how good his work really is.
The older I get, the more it's just like, he's just, the man's amazing.
Absolutely.
Right, so we will draw this to a close, and that was the White Dwarf issue 161 from May 1993's article about the introduction of Chaos Dwarfs. If you have any articles that you would like us to cover, please give us a shout and let us know, and we will do our very best to get to it. Games Workshop related stuff, so it could be from a White Dwarf, could be from a Citadel Journal, could be from the original Citadel Journals. I've got them scanned now as well. Almost my entire archive of White Dwarfs and Citadel Journals has now been scanned.
Was that pre the Gavs taking on Citadel Journal? Because I know, because I thought there was a version before that.
Yeah, so there were 4 Citadel Journals: spring, winter, 3 and 4.
That's right,
because they didn't number them until 3, and then Citadel Journal came back properly as its own magazine, monthly magazine at one point. That's what else is missing. That's what the internet took away from us. It took away the Citadel Journal. Fuck you, internet.
Yeah, it was a bit special, wasn't it?
Right then, with all that being said, we will get out of here. Thank you, Mr. D.
You're welcome.
And we will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.
See ya.